there, Towelites, it's Clay with yet another figure review. This time I have a Marvel Legends Infinite series Daredevil figure. I got this figure because it was my favorite in this wave, and I figured I'd do a review because this is really timely, seeing as the show just came out, which is a fantastic show if you haven't already seen it. Alright, so let's get into it. At the bottom here we got Daredevil. It's a Marvel Legends Infinite series, obviously. Marvel, we got at the top, and then Build a Figure Collection Hobgoblin. I'm not going to be collecting the Hobgoblin Build-A-Figure. I'm actually probably just going to either store away the pieces that come with this or sell them. I don't really want it. I don't like the design of the figure. So, you know, it is what it is. Alright, on the side we got pictures of Spider-Man because he is the primary character in this wave. And on the back we got all of our characters. Alright, so on the back we got this little blurb about Daredevil. Without sight, but also without fear. When Daredevil senses evil, there's nowhere to hide. You know, I guess that's alright. Sounds a little cheesy, but whatever, you know. And then at the bottom here we have the rest of the figures in the wave. Like I said, I'm not going to be getting the Hobgoblin Build-A-Figure. I'm not a huge fan of the design of the character. Daredevil's what I wanted the most. I'm also looking at Spider-Man 2099 and Pizza Parker, as I affectionately refer to him. They're both, I've seen them both in person. They're pretty good sculpts. They look pretty alright. I'm not a fan of Anti-Venom or the two Spider-Women characters, rather. Spider-Girl from Marvel Universe 2 and Spider-Woman from the Ultimate Universe. I don't know. I saw them as well. They just don't really interest me. And I don't know. I'm just not a huge fan of those characters. Alright, well, let's get into this figure. Alright, and here's the figure out of the packaging, and after playing with it for a little while, I'm not that impressed with this figure. In fact, I'm kind of disappointed. There are a couple gripes that I knew off the bat that I would have problems with, namely the paint and the lack thereof. But really it's just a lot of problems with some of like the joints, and they're really loose joints, and some of them are really tight and don't want, like the ankle joints are really tight, and the ab crunch is really loose, which just makes it difficult to pose because it's hard to get him to stand up because the legs don't want to work right, and then his upper body wobbles a lot when you're posing him, so it's hard to get him to balance. So there's a lot of little frustrations. It actually took me a little while to get him to stand up straight. I can get him in poses where he's lower to the ground, but when it comes to, like, you know, like this pose right here, I don't know, he just doesn't want to stand up in that pose. It's difficult. But yeah, let me get into articulation. As for the head, we got actually a pretty decent amount of head motion here. Obviously you can move left and right, no head rocker. His shoulder joint goes about that high. Yeah, and it can only close about that much, which is a little weird. Bicep swivel, double jointed elbow. This one of them, I believe it's not this one, it's the right one. It's funky. It doesn't, like, it wants to do weird things. If I can just get a close up of that real quick. Yeah, like, look at that. That's not right. It doesn't look right. It's all funky. But then, like, you look at the other one, it's fine. I don't know what happened there, but yeah, this elbow joint is really weird. Zoom back out. Alright. And then, like I said, the ab crunch is really loose, like I can just wiggle him around and he moves. It's a little unfortunate. There are ways to fix that. It does have a peg in the back, in case you have a peg stand. Waist swivel, which, as you can hear, clicks a little bit. I don't know why, but yeah, that's okay. Thigh joint moves about that far forward and kind of like doesn't move back. Kind of can only kick it back about that far. Another thigh swivel here. Double jointed knees. Yeah, let me do that funky thing. Calf swivel, ankle joint, and an ankle rocker. So, Yeah, and you know, if you couldn't see, it's kind of hard to get the actual ankle joint to get into a position that I can stand him up in. It's a little unfortunate, so I'm just gonna have to hold him here. But yeah, I'm gonna do a close-up, and I'm gonna talk a little bit more about some of the quality control issues with this figure. It's a little sad. Alright, and as you can see, I got kind of tired of trying to pose him, so I've laid our Daredevil down so I can do an autopsy of what's wrong with him, and what I like about him. Mostly what's wrong with him. So, the first thing that I noticed when I got this figure, and I knew this was going to be a problem, was I wish that they had more paint detailing on him. I mean, he has 3 colors. He has the, or I guess 4. Like this lighter plastic red right here, this darker plastic red, this even lighter red that's painted on for his his D's on his chest, his gloves, this little piece right here on his chest and his eyes, and this skin tone on his face. But that's literally it. There's no shading. There's no anything. Like, normally I'm not a huge fan of shading. But, I mean, when I saw the Hellcat figure that came out with the Thanos wave, it had a little bit of, like, orange shading, and that was because having a character be one color throughout the entirety of his body is pretty boring looking. And that's the case with this figure. It's a little upsetting. But as far as face sculpt, I actually really like this face sculpt. I like the design of the costume, what they went for. I wish there were more like clothing ripples, but like, you know, you get a little bit here like on the pectorals and the abs over here, but you know, not a whole lot of real clothing look to it, unfortunately. But what I said earlier about the paint, even like the little paint that they did use, you can see they didn't really get it all. They did a kind of a lackluster job of painting it. You got problems there. There's like you can see through the paint on the chest, and you can definitely see through the paint right here. On both gloves, it has that kind of chipped paint look. Luckily, the face looks pretty alright. It doesn't really have any chips or anything. And as far as I can tell, the boots look pretty solid, with no chips or anything. So that's alright. You got this little number right here on the back, which I never like when they put the little numbers right here. This little piece here, it actually stores the batons that I'll look at in a minute, and they fit pretty nicely in there. I can actually show you what it looks like when they're in there. If you flip them around, just kind of shove them in there. Doesn't look too bad. I think it looks pretty nice, actually. But there are more problems with the batons, as we will see in a moment here. It is not all happy, hunky-doriness going on here. But yeah, what I was saying earlier about the joints being really loose, some of them, the head joint is pretty loose. Like, it can, I mean, I'm not even, like, putting any pressure on it, really. I'm just kind of, like, moving my finger around a little bit. It's shifty. You can see the whole time I'm holding this whole thing is really easy to wobble around. It takes like very little pressure to actually get it to, you know, move. Yeah, that was a bad example because you can't see with all the blur. But take my word for it, it's not very good. I also noticed, I'm going to have to take it off with a razor, but there's this stuff right here. There you go. This excess from the molding on the shoulders right here. It's on both sides, and it's actually pretty bad on this side. And you know, you got a couple little spots here and there where like you have excess plastic and stuff. It's a little unfortunate. I was really looking forward to this figure. I really wanted a good Daredevil, like I said before, but I don't know. It's just a little unfortunate. Now that I think about it, I don't know if I said that before. I wanted a good Daredevil for my collection. There you go, I said it just then. I just now said it. Alright. Yeah, it has a peg hole in the back. And the sculpt, you know, honestly, the body mold isn't bad. I like it for this character. it's just a little, I can't get over the fact that like these joints are so loose. It's just so unfortunate because it makes posing them such a bitch. But I mean, it's you know, it's not my favorite figure, but I like it because it's Daredevil, and I really like Daredevil. Oh, and the thing I mentioned earlier with the elbow joints, I think I figured it out. It looks as if, and here's a big old QC issue. They put the joints on, this joint specifically, on upside down. See, okay. Let's see if I can get it up close. Alright, so you see that one, right? See how it's like, kind of like flat here and then long up here? It's kind of a horrible example because it's, but like, it kind of like comes to a point up at the top near the bicep, right? This is the upside down one. Now let's look at the right side one. Yeah, it's the exact opposite, and this was the normal one. So I think they literally just put it on upside down. Yeah, that's a pain in the ass. So that's upsetting. And this was the better looking of the two in the store. Just, you know, unfortunate. I really like that face sculpt, though. I think it's a really solid face sculpt. I like the horns. I like, you know, what they did with the top of the head and everything. Like the little, like, seam lines there, kind of, a little bit. It could be my imagination. No, it's definitely not. Okay, yeah. The seam lines there. And, like, the ear, even though it looks a little funky right there, it looks a lot better on this side. No, it doesn't. Slightly. Things look different when you see them up close, closer than you have detected them before. But yeah, now you got a little, that plastic, I could get that off there, that's not a problem. Yeah, I can get that off right now, hey. But yeah, the ear looks pretty good, sculpt-wise. I don't know, all in all, it's just a really lackluster figure. I really like the sculpt and everything, but a little upsetting. Alright, well, let's look at his baton. Alright, and here are his, or is his only accessory. I guess you could say it's two, because it's in two pieces. These aren't bad. I find it really difficult to put them in his hands. But they made them out of this like really soft, malleable rubber. Which I think helps a little bit with that, but it's also frustrating because, you know, as you can see when you do that, it looks a little warped. And that comes out when you're holding his figure, you know what I mean? Like, if you're not holding it right, then it kind of, you know, looks like it's bending or whatever. But whatever, you know, like, that's not that big of a deal. It looks nice in this little holster, so that's good. They also, if you couldn't tell just by looking at them, they come together and form one long bendy-doodad. Yeah. So unfortunately, that is a little bit of an issue that it's bendy. That's not a bad prop. I knew that they were going to be bendy when I got it, or rubbery rather. So it's not a big deal. But I mean, I think all in all, with this being the way it is, and just the figure being the way it is, it's a little, I don't know, I'm underwhelmed. Oh, I'm underwhelmed, let's say that. That's a good word. Alright, so final thoughts on this figure. I'm kind of just let down by this figure. I went into it with really high expectations, and maybe I shouldn't have done that. But I was just expecting something a lot more. I remember the first time I saw the paint apps, I was a little disappointed. I figured maybe the figure itself would make up for that, but it really didn't. In fact, the figure itself, articulation, and just the joints in general, just kind of let me down a lot. If I could go back, I probably wouldn't buy this figure again, but now that I have it, it's a good placeholder. As my girlfriend told me not that long ago, she wouldn't be surprised if they came out with a Daredevil figure from Hot Toys with the success of the Netflix show, as well as obviously Marvel's deal with Hot Toys. So when, you know, that comes out, I'll get that one, and that will be my Daredevil figure, and I will get rid of this one. So yeah, it's I'm a little sad. I'm a little sad. This is my favorite character, and I was really hoping for something spectacular to add to my collection, and this is actually probably my least impressive Marvel Legend, and it's my favorite character. That's just sad. Shouldn't happen. But yeah, I think, you know, Hasbro's pushing a lot of this stuff into production really fast. What with the All-Father wave, the Thanos wave, and this wave all coming out within like a couple months of each other, along with like the 3-pack that they just released of like Coulson, Maria Hill, and Nick Fury. I think they're just working really hard to get a bunch of stuff out because they know it'll sell, and they're no longer focusing a whole lot on quality control or just design of the figures. It's a little sad. I'm a little disappointed. I don't know if you can tell, I've said that like 18 times. So yeah, I guess that's all I really gotta say about this figure. Until next time, as you Tower Lights know, this is something that I always say. It's a little annoying, I'm sure. Stay smart. Don't do anything dumb. Don't buy this figure. I mean, unless you really like Daredevil. Even still, I don't know. It's up to you.